Hi guys, it's me. So I'm having a hard day. It kind of just creeped up on me, and it's nothing like major. It's not, a catastrophe or anything like that. It's a bunch of little things that have been accumulating, and then it just kind of hits me upside my head. So what I've done is I went to the gym, worked out, and then I came here to Miracle Beach, which is my happy place, and it's absolutely crazy beautiful here in the fall. And so I came here, and now I'm making some oatmeal here in my car. It's so peaceful and quiet. So I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to get into this and tell you guys what's going on. So just one of the most important things that appealed to me when I was considering car life was the fact that I could be in any environment that I chose at any given time. And I'm like that. I need absolute, quiet and peace at certain times. And then I really, like to go and be around hustle and bustle and stuff like that. It's more rare. The majority of my time is spent in nature and, more rural, secluded places. And that's how I thrive. But the thing with being in car life is you can do that whenever you want. It's so different when you're in a house and you're like, okay, on Friday I'm going to go to the beach or whatever. You have to wait. Here, doing car life means I can leave and do whatever I want on a dime. I love that so much. All right, so I'll just catch everybody up. So when I last touched in with you guys, I had just picked up my new SUV tent, this Napier Sports SUV tent, and then I headed to a campground, which was Cowichan River Provincial Park, and I was so excited, and I really had a great time. Like those first few 2 or 3 days, like I had booked in for 2 weeks because I thought even then that wasn't going to be enough. So I set up the tent, all that. But what started to go wrong for me there was, so the first thing was no internet. And, I basically did 3 days, but it's too much. It was too much. Like our whole lives revolve around having access to the internet. So that started to get on my nerves because of that commute that I had to do, and just crazy busy. Like a lot of these little cities on Vancouver Island have they're not able to deal with the capacity of people who are, coming here, moving to the island. So it's just congestion and frustration, and like I even saw road rage. I was just like, get me the heck out of here. This is not my jam at all. So by day 4 or 5 at the campground, well, I'll tell you this too. Normally I can tolerate just a little bit of everything for small amounts of time. So the campsite next to me, beautiful people. Like I love like the whole hippie vibe and stuff. I'm not a hippie, but I totally get it. So that's a few, I don't know, there's I think three people that moved into that campsite, and one of the guys just played the flute like all day. I was like, come on now. And then the girl was dancing, which, I think that's a beautiful thing, and you can go and see that when you want. But when it's you're just stuck with it, yeah, it started to bug me a little bit. And so the way I dealt with that was I would just go into Dunkin' because I needed my internet, and I also just needed to be away from that. But there wasn't really anywhere to go, like a park or anything. I was like sitting outside the Tim Hortons, and that's not fun. Yeah, anyway, so all those little things, just like minor annoyances, right, that started to accumulate. So by day 5, I think, yeah, I was just like, I'm going home meaning like my neighborhood, which is Courtney area. I'm going back, So it was gonna, and plus it was gonna start raining that afternoon. So I made the decision around 9 a.m. because I'm like, why am I gonna go to Duncan and then come back here? And plus I had to make a trip out here to Courtney purposefully because I'm expecting something from Google because my channel has been monetized. Yeah. So I figured I'll just pack up and we'll figure it out when I get up to Courtney. So that's what I did. I disassembled the tent and I had so much stuff. And you know, that video where I put together that soft cargo box, rooftop cargo box. So I started packing that up. It was just not fun at all. In fact, like I had this moment of like, you know, I had like a cry face and I just kind of had like a meltdown because I just was like, oh my God, we're really in this. We're in this winter car camping. Like we're in it. Like it just kind of hit me. So I decided, yeah, so I made it back to Courtney and I went to my favorite rest stop. I hung out there and I was, you know, went to all the little stores that I know, went to check the mail. And then another thing that started to pop up around the last 2 or 3 days was I've been going to the bathroom, like pee a lot, like way more than usual. And because now it's cold, like last night it went down to 5 degrees Celsius. And this situation with, you know, my bladder, I had to get up 3 times. Well, the night before. So I thought, I think I have a UTI or something. This isn't my norm, and who knows what's going on. I didn't have the typical UTI, you know, burning and pain and all that, but I don't usually use the washroom 3 times in a night. So called up my doctor's office, and then there's a nurse, you know, if it's not serious, the nurse will see you. So I went, told her what's going on. They did like a urine dip test and to just rule out if it's an infection brewing or something. So we went through all the things about what I'm doing different and you know, my diet. So I said, well, you know, one of the things I know for sure is I'm like pretty close to being addicted to Diet Dr. Pepper. I really have started to love it. It's like a treat for me. And I was always like, well, there's no calories and, you know, that rationalization that I tend to do when I kind of know something's not great, but I still want it. Anyway, so she was brought up this list of all the different things that you can consume that are like bladder irritants. Yeah, so they sent my sample to the lab, so we'll find out for sure if it's anything's, you know, sinister. But for sure, I knew like I have to make some changes in my diet because I just cannot do it. Last night was probably the hardest because I did my last bathroom around 11 and I thought, okay, I'll make it till the morning. I have to try. And I kept waking up because I was so cold. That's the other thing. I was so cold. And even though my sleeping bag, like I was warm inside my sleeping bag, but you know, there was a draft on my neck and then it was on my head and then it was just, and I would have a sweating thing and then I would wake up and then, yeah, it just went on. And I was like, this, you know, you don't know how you can deal with certain things until you're in it. Like as much as I think I've pre-planned to deal with this and I've got some amazing suggestions and tips from you guys. It just isn't the same until you're actually experiencing it. So, and that's what was happening. I was like, okay, I have to make this change. I have to do this. I have to get this. I have to get that. And at the same time, I'm trying to figure out, should I stay in my familiar territory or should I head out to another campsite where it's even more rural than this Cowichan River campsite? And I was like, can you live without internet for another however many days? And also I need to check the mail and there's different things going on, you know. So that started to compound that. So I decided, well, I'm just going to hang out here, you know, in this vicinity for a few more days. And at the same time, this started to compound yesterday. I was thinking, like my car is really small and it's working for me, and I've got everything I need. I don't feel like I'm lacking in anything other than space. So I had one whole, I think it was last night or the night before, just like, what do I do? How am I going to like fix this issue? Because when it's so cold, I'm just like freaking out about it a little bit. So I decided that probably my next move will be to get a little minivan or something, you know. And then that, I just went down that rabbit hole. It's like, you know, because I have my dream and then there's reality, right? So putting those two together is a real challenge for me. I do it. Once I put my mind to it, I can do it. But it's just like, you know, so my dream little van would be a Ford Transit Connect that I can build out all the way I want it. I've seen so many beautiful builds in those little Ford Transit Connects. So I have had my heart set on that's where I was going to go once I moved up to a van. But I also have seen so many incredibly well built out minivans. And I had started to do some research on minivans, and there's only 5 types of minivans you can get in Canada. So I started like researching the pros and cons of all of them. And the thing is, you know, when I research something, I have to realize the intention of which I will be using that thing. So for me, it's a build out. So it's about space and all that stuff. So I went to this, I thought I'll just check. I'll look and see what's out there for sale. Like I wasn't even sure what prices I would be looking at. So I was doing a combination of that and watching YouTube videos about people who had converted their minivan, because realistically at this point, for me to go into a Ford Transit Connect, like the bare bones, right? It's basically the bare bones, it would be like metal sides and stuff. Then you have to do your build out. And that's just so much money. Like I've heard people quote what it costs them and all that stuff. And so I'm just not there. I had to like come to reality. That is not going to happen, especially in anytime near future, unless I won the lottery or something. So I was like, okay, let's really super consider a minivan, because I think I could do that with putting some different things in place. So off I went on the hunt, but also scared. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to leave my little car. What am I going to do? How, you know? So this is how I spin out. Okay. I don't know how everybody else spins out, but this is what I do. I'm like, bah, 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 bah. So anyway, I found a dealership that had a bunch of minivans. So it said, you know, fill out this form and let us know what you're interested. So I did. So the guy called me like 5 minutes after, and I was just straight up with him. I just said, you know, I'm looking for a minivan with low kilometers and really spacious, so that, because I'm going to convert it into a van camper, like a van camper conversion. So he's like, I've got something for you. Of course, right? Like, of course you do. Duh. So anyway, he's like, when can we meet? And I was like, well, I'm around town for a little bit. He's like, can we meet at 2? I'm like, Deborah, why are you doing this to your own self? So I'm like, yeah. Okay, I'll meet you at 2. I think 2, obviously I'm not going to sit down and buy this minivan, but there was a part of me that just wanted to see it in real life. You know, you can figure things out as much as possible when you're watching other people's minivan conversions. So 2:00, I go down there. He had 3 in stock. And one of them was, 2 of them were these Dodge Grand Caravan. And I've never been a fan of those. Like, you know, there's this so soccer mom look. And there was another one called a Chrysler Town and Country minivan. And I saw the picture. It was pretty cute on the outside. So I said, he said, I'll show you all these ones that I have. But I kind of, there was something about this white Town and Country So that's the first one I went to. Well, oh my God. Oh my God. I started falling for this. Well, first of all, like it wasn't the part that it wasn't big like a Ford Transit Connect. Because I was hoping at some point when I move over to being in a van that I would be able to stand up. But that's like a Ford Transit full on, and there's no way. I don't even want one like that. So as I'm like, going back and forth about the smallness, like the height, the interior height, I would never be able to stand up. And that was just, wearing down on me. But this minivan, guys, was so cute. Oh my God. And in mint condition. It had been owned by an older guy, and he just took care of it. Like it even smelled like new car, which I know they probably spray that stuff. But anyways, I was impressed. I was impressed by the condition, and also the Town and Country, it has 3 rows of seats. So the 2 further, like the back 2 rows, have that Stow and Go. And I didn't really know about Stow and Go. So he's like, yeah, you just, he showed me how you put the seats down, and then the entire back was flat. But I remember one minivan conversion I saw on YouTube, and she had taken the seats out. So there was like these massive little compartments of storage. And when I actually saw it in real life, I thought, wow, there's a lot of storage. And I started visualizing the build, and it's all like leather seats. So you know how a lot of van lifers, they block off the back from the front seats. Yeah, so I was envisioning a compartment, like one of those blackout curtains or something. I'm not crazy about those blackout curtains, but I could see that if you block that off, then the rest of the minivan was your living space. But the part that was, the car part was so nice. It was like leather seats and every accessory you can imagine, like heated steering wheel, aircon, like dual zone aircon. And also up at the top on the roof at the back were these little TV screens that came down. Yeah, so I started to just become intoxicated with this little car, this minivan. But I didn't show it. At least I don't think I did. So I said, yeah, okay, well. And they checked out my car and thought like that was so cool. And okay, so eventually I left the dealership, non-committal and all that stuff. But when I got back to my car, like where I was sleeping that night, I just started going through it all, and then it got really cold in my car, and it was starting to hit me that as much as I love my little car, it's really small. It's really small, and it hurts my heart even to say it, because I had committed to being in my car, and I still am. But I almost feel like guilty or some sense of betrayal, because I signed up to go through this car life journey with my car, and I love my car so much. Yeah, so I was processing all that crazy emotion, and started, thinking about what would I do if I decided I wanted this minivan, like, right? So then that started a whole other friggin' rabbit hole. Like, how would I sell my car? We talked about a trade-in, but I would never get what I put into this car. So, pretty sure if I decide to sell it privately on Vancouver Island, like a car camper conversion would just probably sell really fast. And then I actually checked out other 2014 Ford Fiestas and what they're going for. So I felt confident that I could sell my little rig. But then I was like, okay, if I sell it, then where do I go? Where do I live? And I don't want to buy the van and then have the car and just be like, have 2 vehicles. That would be like insane. So I was like, how would I ever make this work, Anyway, so where I am right now, and I call this a hard day because there's some hard decisions, right? I have to change my diet a bit. I have to think about if I am going to do this transition from my car into a minivan, and then I have to consider how I'm going to build up the minivan. But I know I could, like, if I had to do it tomorrow, I could just be in the minivan, which is insulated, right? And rather than if I went into a Ford Transit Connect, I'd be dealing with a tin box, and how would I do, like, that's just out of the realm of possibility for me. I had to close that door. So yeah, so that's what's hard. This seems like there's a lot of hard decisions that I have to make all at once, or at least consider, Oh my God. Oh, it's really something. And then I feel like even the thought of being a true van lifer, I love being a car lifer. And then one of the other considerations was, most people who are in a Ford Transit or Dodge Ram or one of these big rigs, a big van, you are almost not stealthy anymore. People know that if it doesn't say Amazon on the side, chances are somebody's living in there, and it's not as easy to find parking spaces if you're in a van than you are in a car. So another thing I was thinking about, if I'm in that minivan, which is absolutely gorgeous and is really dark tinted windows, like in the back, I could stealth camp and navigate that way from being in the back up to the front seat. Easy. I was like, wow, I could actually do this for sure. So those are some of the hard things I'm dealing with. And what I decided to do today and moving forward is, the first thing I have to do is clean up my diet. Like, no more Diet Dr. Pepper. I have to say goodbye to my friend. So that's the decision I made there. Other bladder irritants are things like chocolate and coffee and like anything that's got caffeine in it, pretty much. But I'm not giving up my coffee. There's no way. And I have actually whittled it down to one. So anyways, Dr. Pepper's gone. The next thing is I have to deal with, and that's going to, getting rid of Diet Dr. Pepper will hopefully start to alleviate this nighttime constant waking up to go pee. So that will be a huge thing, because if I can just go through the night and sleep, yay that. And the other thing I'm going to do is probably, like, I did hook up my little space heater, and that will work, but I definitely can't sleep with that on. I would have to still get up, blast some heat into the car, turn it off, and I'm really scared of falling asleep, because in the middle of the night, like, I am just like I'm barely conscious. So that is a concern. I think, though, what I'll do with that little space heater is when I wake up and I'm going to get dressed, I'll blast that into the car, because it takes about 2 or 3 minutes for the car to heat up with that. But I think I'm going to go and get the heating blanket, because, I'm aware of where I'm cold, and it's definitely my head and my neck, or if any skin is exposed. Like, if you don't have the zipper all the way to the top of the sleeping bag, you feel the cold. Like, it's crazy. So I'm going to do that today. So hopefully dealing with those two things. And then I've kind of let go of the minivan, because there's nothing I can do in this moment about it. And so while I'm letting that go, I'm also going to think about, selling my car if the day comes, which it may come sooner than later. But I'm just feel like I have to really get grounded in what I would do, like, logistically. If my car sold, then, all that stuff. And yeah, so that's how I'm dealing with my hard day. It's a hard knock life as a car lifer. In the big scheme of things, those are all really not so hard things, but it was just so much at once. And I'm also just going to stick around, North Island, Up Island, they call it, for a bit, and just kind of, I just don't feel like I should make any kind of a big move right now. And I feel good about being in this area, because I can come here I can go to the beach. I can go to all my familiar spaces, you know. So that feels good. So there you go, guys. That's the scoop. And I'm just going to turn this hard day and look at my blessings and what I'm grateful for. And then it surely shifts when I concentrate on that. So yeah, there we go. So if you liked this video, guys, hit that like button. And if you want to see more content from me, hit that subscribe button. I've got lots of more content coming out very soon. So I will see you guys in my next video. Take care.